juga sekarang ada di Kayangan Vocational di Institute Kayangan Institute. Ini dijelaskan kita sedang mengikuti kampus tour.
The chance of let's face it, automotive now, every single component, every mechanical operation on your vehicle has got an electrical sensor that goes with it. So it is incorporated not just in auto electrical, but in the actual mechanical qualification as well. So what you have there is probably a third of the mechanical qualification is electrical. Thus the expansion of this particular type of room. This has been in function since 2012, but you see these consoles here. The student will put some additive consoles in there. They will do their online learning. It's all interactive. They will do their learning, they'll do their theory there. Then they move on to simulators. These simulators, the teacher can then actually program faults, and they can program a different fault on each machine at any one time. So the student, and I remember when I was a student, if there was an easy way to do something, I definitely tried to do it. So I would come over, find a fault, and then I would rush to my mate and say, guess what, the fault's this. No, they change the fault in between. So there's always a different fault. So they will do the fault there. I'm sorry, I apologise, I'm a spray painter by trade. So I don't understand the technical side behind it. But I do understand that each different machine will have different component on the vehicle, right, and different function. Okay. Sorry.
Can you sell this kind of teaching factory to the other vocational school in other place?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is not exclusive just for us. This is across the board. There's also another theory. That we have once upon a time, teachers, and I've got people in the room which probably agree with me. Once upon a time, we had a training plan or a certain amount of units, a skill set that we would train, and that particular teacher would do everything along that. What we have found is that because our mechanics are also doing electrical, no point my mechanics doing the electrical training when I have auto electricians who are specialists at it. So they come into this area. So what we're starting to do now is we're doing training for all areas. So if a panel beater has an electrical unit in his training plan, they will come upstairs and they do the training here. Mechanic comes in here or in next door because we've set up another room next door for them as well. If, give me an example, a mechanic has to do welding, I send them to the body trades because they are the best welders. And that's the type of training we do now. We see the specialist, and instead of I just do this, now I do a very
They do
everything. Yes. Yeah. So it's very much more encompassing, but it also makes the teachers feel that I am the expert in this area.
I only do math, so I can't do.
Yeah. So they do. Yes. Now I won't go into matrices, which means I have to have a unit. I won't go into that.
We have to map. A teacher has to map their qualifications, their experience, and they have to keep current. So every year they have to get 30 points in currency on their profession.
Oh, sorry.
As well as teaching.
Yes.
So always ongoing. Every teacher has a 30 professional.
Kita berada di Kayangan Institute. Ini sebuah lembaga untuk mendidik orang-orang memiliki keterampilan. Tak peduli umurnya berapa, semua orang harus bekerja dulu di industri. Setelah itu dia bisa dididik di sini untuk meningkatkan kualifikasi dan skill mereka. Sangat canggih.
So there's a select units that they all must do for that qualification. But what also happens is there's another bucket where they're called electives. That's where the industry can say, you know what, I don't do too much of this, but I do some of this. So they can introduce units into that qualification that suits their workshop. Really good question. So to a certain point, yes, there is a basic minimum, but it is flexible as well. Okay.
After that.
Yeah, so in automotive here, we deliver 380 units. different units.
That's how many days?
380.
How many units do they need, Michael?
Okay, so a qualification, a light vehicle qualification for a mechanic only requires 36. 20 of them are core units.
So 20
So-
are all the same?
Yes, 20 must be always the same. The 16 are then electives. And there's an extensive elective bank that they can choose. Someone asked about welding. Some do welding, some don't do welding. So you can choose in and out.
It's free to get the basic.
Yes, but the basics is there. There's a 20 that I have to do regardless.
Do you also give some automobile industry, for instance, to give kind of feedback on their product?
You're talking about industry-specific training?
Yeah, I
Yes,
mean-
I'm going to show you that.
Okay.
We're going to go outside because we have what's known as key clients as well. I'll show you once we go outside.
Okay.
So in this area here, we have the lab, we have the electrical lab over there. We've set up a second lab there because we've got such a volume of students coming through the auto elec area. We also have EV training. As you can see, we have one. We have two EVs. We have the van is an EV, and we have the Leaf. EV being electric vehicle.
Is-
So we've got 4 vehicles up here that we do the electric vehicle, and the one you see cordoned off, as it says, high voltage testing area. So that's where we do some of the electric vehicle training, safety training. We also do air conditioning. We also do driver assist recalibration.
Okay. Oh.
So do you know when you go down the road and the car corrects itself on the road
Oh, yeah.
and has sensors everywhere? If you replace your windscreen, you also, if you have a car, you also need to have the cameras recalibrated.
Mm.
So that's also training that we do here as well.
How about electric car?
Yeah, electric car.
This one?
As you can see, testing area. There's another one set up there. Actually, I lie. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vehicles.
Oh, okay.
I like the good.
Turn the radio on, there's all the noises.
Sorry, nothing sounds as good as they are.
Ini pekerjaannya luar biasa ya. Di samping menguji mobil-mobil, semua peralatan, permesinan dan sebagainya. Ini juga menghasilkan produk-produk. Ini desain factory mereka. Alat-alatnya dipecah, dibuka supaya siswanya bisa belajar, bisa mengerti prinsip bekerjanya sebuah mesin.
Well, although when it's waited until they can come back. So we still learn how classes for that type of thing, but we wait until there was less that break. And we did it from the street. We had very strict.
There's a combination. Yes, sir. Really good question. Probably to explain what the learning model here is, we have a electronic learning platform called Moodle. So all the theory is based on that. The assessment questions, so quizzes, maybe a competency test is on that particular platform. And then they also have a practical assessment, which is then done here. So there is a combination. So what we find is we also have varied delivery methods. One is called lockstep, and one is called self-paced. You may have heard self-paced, but the lockstep is probably something that you're more familiar with. Teacher stands at the front of the class and delivers a class, delivers a program, yeah? Self-paced is a little bit different. Self-paced, a student can log on at any stage and start their learning. Then when they get to a certain point, it triggers the teacher or the mentor of a particular student to place them into a workshop in order for them to complete their practice and then do their practical assessment. So it's a combination. So we have various models. And I can explain the lockstep a little bit better. Once we go outside, we'll have a look at Renault and we'll have a look at BMW as well.
I have a question. If in a individual learning maybe in other in anywhere.
Yeah.
And then are there any training material like simulation, something like that? Because they learn alone,
Yep.
and then how to, for
Okay.
example, service. Of
It's
the
not a
automatic.
perfect system. I would never say it's a perfect system, but what happens is when they come into our environment here, so you'll do theory, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a practical person, I'm a tactile person, I've got to touch it, feel it, move it around to
Yeah,
learn.
some-
You will learn so much in theory.
Okay.
Where my teachers are very good is they will go over concepts with the student on that particular task. So what it does is reaffirms what they may have heard, maybe they understood, maybe they didn't understand, so they really do go over that together here. And sometimes it's individually, sometimes the teacher is really good to identify there are 3, 4 in the one workshop saying they're asking the same sort of thing, they'll have a discussion. They'll go over that. Once the teacher is happy that yes, the concepts are there, then they can go into their assessment and they actually do the job where they're assigned a task, go to the task, and you'll see there's prac books sitting there. They'll look at the prac book, go through the prac book, and then that's how they're assessed whether they're competent or not. So it's a mixture. It's a fine balancing act. But we've found that the self-pace is really good because regional students can do some training and they come here and just do practical,
Yeah.
which really helps them to go through. I mentioned the pathway programs, which is our certificate 2. We generally do that program in this area here. And as I mentioned, the pathway program is very much, and I think, basic technical skills, but more importantly, employability skills. The employability skills are, I can't emphasise how important that is, because we sometimes can't teach attitude, but we can teach a good person with attitude what it takes to be able to prepare themselves for work, get to work, and then once they're at work, to be able to follow instructions, do it in the right way. Those things are invaluable because you can teach skills. Those are confident they can teach anyone anything, because if I can be taught a trade, anyone can be taught a trade, because I'm not that bright, to be honest.
Don't sell yourself.
But what I'm getting at is that's the easy bit. The easy bit is what tools do I need to be able to get the job and hold the job? They're the most important things, I think, anyway. So this is where we do that sort of training. And then we come to one of our workshops is very, very much our heavy vehicle area. As you can see, the banners there, we do some training here as well. But in this area we have our heavy vehicle, we have engines here, but it's very much our transmission, gearboxes, driveline, differentials in this section here.
What make the car?
I've got no idea.
Wow.
I couldn't tell you, and if I said something, I'd be lying.
Oh,
Okay, so a good question there is where our self-paced model in this section, because we have what's known as a key client program as well. The key client program is where we've got a industry partner that we deliver a heavy vehicle qualification, but we use sometimes their material, sometimes their methods, their machines, and so forth. So it's customised training to the type of work that they would see at work, but we get the qualification done and tick off. So that's what we call a key client program, and you'll see a little bit more of that as we walk outside. But we have heavy vehicle and light vehicle key clients. So CMV, William Adams, industry groups, I can't remember as some. And now we'll go outside, and to get a better understanding of what that key client group is, or what it means, we'll actually walk you around.
betapa canggihnya.
Yang penting referensi
biasa.
Let's walk this way.
Apa, suasananya kayak
Iya, santai ya.
santai, bersih.
Adik kita ada unik.
As you can see inside here, you see a lot of Renaults in the one
Renault.
spot. Okay. So we have a Renault specialist trainer, and he will deliver to apprentices, but we also deliver their national technical training as well. So when there's a new model that comes out, we also deliver the new model to the existing Renault dealerships. This is what we would consider a key client. As I said, it's customised to their training. We follow through here because we also do
Semuanya tahu.
Pernah jadi sesuatu yang berat tapi
Enggak, kita
bersih banget. Very good.
Wow.
Yes, the Renault we do their training. Yes, we. No. We do. So what happens is, have you got everyone in?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
What happens is we do apprenticeship training, but we also do technical training. So if a brand new Renault comes out with something that's slightly different to people haven't seen before, we actually get the mechanics that are already qualified to come in and do that training as well for the upgrade. Yes, so we do that there. BMW training is another key client that we have. Now you're going to say, oh, good, we've got a couple of BMWs here, and they do the specific training, and there's a special way that they deliver, which is in their theory class there. And then you're showing me a Hilux. Why is a Hilux here?
Toyota.
It's a very good question.
Ya.
I know why, but I couldn't tell you the technical term. What it is there's a particular component here, task that's done on this particular vehicle, that is in the core units of the training plan that doesn't exist on a BMW.
Oh.
So we've had to bring something else in because it's a fundamental part of the course, you see, and that's why that's here. But that's what it is. But I know that for a fact, and that's why they've got this vehicle here. So that's why it is very stringent what we do. So they've gone through the program, and BMW has identified that we can cover all these units except for one. So we've had to bring another resource in to be able to accommodate for that.
Comparative.
So this, and again, this space here has actually been leased by BMW. So it's exclusively BMW, no one else is in here. They pay a premium for their train to be here. We deliver both Renault and BMW apprentices nationwide. So they fly in from Western Australia, Queensland, wherever they are from, they come here to do their training.
Oh.
Yep. It's quite a extensive program. Those ones.
How about Mercedes?
Sorry.
How about Mercedes?
So they're going to start.
The Mercy. The Mercedes.
Mercedes. Yes. Mercedes.
Wow. Kita ngikuti kepos tuh. Kita mau masuk melihat Mercedes. Kita masuk lift dulu ya.
What I was explaining to you upstairs about they have boards which are connected to computers. This is the type of thing I'm talking about even upstairs. This is a little bit newer because this whole room has been set up for electric vehicle and all the simulations.
Oh, okay.
So there's I think there's about a $1.3 million setup in here just alone. And if you come over here, it's all about electric vehicle.
Oh,
Now, was a question asked. What was the question asked outside about tuition? Okay, tuition in an approved program, which is funded by the government. There are also eligibility criteria. I'm not going to go through all the eligibility criteria, but you have to be eligible. And what happens is that the government pays for the tuition or for the training. There is an enrolment fee, yes, which is some tuition that the student pays, but ultimately the employer pays. Because that's the agreement when they take them on as an apprentice, that they will refund or fund the training tuition. So technically the student isn't really out of pocket, and the government funds the rest of it. If you are an international person, which does not have any eligibility, yes, you will pay. It's roughly, to do a Cert 3, it'll be roughly about $18,000.
Is that per year or the whole course?
If you were to pay for, it'll be the whole course. Yeah,
How long?
18,000, yes.
How long? How long?
It depends. Well, it's competency-based training. What that basically means is that you can enrol, and until you show you can do the work without any intervention, that's when you pass. So that's why very important here you have a job and get the work experience as you are being trained, and it takes 4 years. The majority take 4 years to be good level tradesmen. So we have these different, as you can see, these are battery packs for hybrid electrics or electric vehicles. These are other systems which I'm not totally familiar with, but please understand when you're doing EV training, the whole idea of being able to diagnose a vehicle that has a problem. Now, if you've got an electric vehicle and you don't know what you're doing, you can kill yourself because they've got 600 volts. So instead of putting faults in a real life vehicle, we do it on the simulators. This way no one can get hurt. Once they understand what they're doing, then they can move to the vehicle itself. And that's the whole rationale behind this room here. I'm actually currently in the throes of putting the EV Certificate 3 on scope, which means we'll be allowed to train it. But that means upskilling my own teachers, so it's a bit of a chicken and egg. Which one comes first? So they have to go to industry, and they've got to learn off industry what happens and how does it work, and bring it back as well. But we do have the fundamentals. All right, let's move on. The rest of level 1 is very much classrooms. We may as well come out here. Okay, we are right here. And I'll leave a surprise for the end.
Campus store.
The surprise? We will get the surprise.
What is it?
It's a surprise.
As you can see, very much all classrooms in this area. We have renamed this area the Bilardo Wing. Do you want to, when you introduce Joe Bilardo, just explain to everyone that this is the Bilardo Wing? Joe Bilardo is our executive director.
He's the executive director, so he's just in another meeting at the moment. He's coming to join us.
Ntar masuk lift dulu.
Okay. We had a bit of a conversation upstairs about, we sort of mentioned key clients, and we saw some of the rooms and its bespoke training, its dedicated training to a particular client. That is very much a lockstep, the traditional class where a teacher will sit and talk about concepts and go over curriculum and all sorts of things and do assessment. This is what's known as our learning hub, and this is part of our self-paced program. So like I said before, a student can log on at home and do some theory, or comes in and does theory here. The teacher at the front, facilitator at the front, will then see, oh, this individual's progressed to a certain point. Oh, you're going to do engines. You go up to level 2, we were before, and assign them into the workshop. And then the technical expert will come along and go over some concepts again, and then do their assessment or do their prep. So that's the mix. So it's a constant flow of students from here into the workshops, and then from the workshops back into here. So it is a very good combination there. What I might do. We also had the international program. Now this is where they used to work from, and they had a dedicated workshop as well. I'm glad to say we've got 2 more groups starting next year, so that's on the way up again with a bit of luck.
So what is the international program?
Okay, good question. Now the international program, the way we have modelled it here, they will complete a certificate 3 in mechanical, then they do a certificate 4 in mechanical technology, and then they do a diploma in mechanical.
So 3 different courses.
They'll do 3 different qualifications in 2 years.
Oh, in 2 years. So they're going to do those
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Oh.
They're fee for service, and we also offer a placement. They have to do 800 hours of work placement for experience
Yeah.
here in Australia with a workshop for them to get through as well. So it does come with a work placement. We have associations with motorsport, and I'll show you motorsport further down, but we have an association with Red Bull, but we also have a motorsport program.
Okay.
Come through.
Oh. How? Oh. Wow.
Belum tentu harus ini kan?
We are now in our light engines area. Now, our light engines include motorcycle, marine, and OPE. OPE is outdoor powered equipment. Basically, your lawnmowers, anything that has a rope with an engine on it, that's outdoor powered equipment. We do it in this area here. We are very fortunate. We are very fortunate because many other institutes just put these students in normal light vehicle. So we're very, very grateful that we actually have, again, specialised training for exactly what the student sees when they're back at work. Jet skis, boats, obviously they do servicing in boats and all
Apa ini?
sort of stuff.
Apa ini?
We,
Sepeda laut.
Oh.
I know you're pressed for time, yeah?
Okay.
We're in our brakes and hydraulics area, and again, it's a self-paced program, but they might be in the hub, and then they're transferred to this area for those particular units that they will do here. We also have 4 dynamometers. We have a truck dyno, we have a sedan dyno, we have a motorcycle dyno, and we have an engine dyno. They're not for performance, they're for testing, so fuel efficiency, tyre pressures, lubricants, all sorts of different things that go inside there.
Oh, semua merek teknologi ada di sini. Luar biasa. Permesinan. Ada semua.
Mechanical isn't just the car that you drive in. We've got everything from little bobcats to forklifts to little dozers. We have heavy vehicle transport as well. We also have agricultural equipment. We've got very small ones here, but we deliver the majority of that program in Bendigo because we have another campus in Bendigo as well. So it made a lot more sense being a regional area that they could do the agricultural training up there. We're always finding something different. as a simulator. You can imagine some of the big pieces take up a lot of space, but when you have a smaller simulator that represents exactly the same thing, at least the concepts of being able to be, the foundations are there for the student. We do trailer tech. And we come into our service center. When we first set up base back in 2012, we had a hoist here and a hoist there and a hoist there. But it didn't really replicate what we saw, what a student would see when they were in the workplace. Majority of them work in a service centre where there's, a nicely set up workshop where there's bays and hoists in each area. So we ended up transforming it into something what they would normally see. Furthermore, with each hoist comes a skill set which are associated with different competencies. So when the student's in the hub and says, I have to do these 3 competencies because they've been clustered together, they can then come here and actually get assessed on that particular vehicle, and that basically ticks off those competencies. So it's a real combination. There's a lot of thought that's gone into being able to get the student progress through quicker, which also shows in my finances, which is great. All right. What we'll do is we'll walk out, we'll go have a look at motorsport, because I think you might be interested in motorsport, and then I'll show you the surprise. Just push yourself through there.
This is a surprise. You come Thank you.
All right, we're back to the foyer. We have our customer service, we have our canteen, we have a few associated classrooms. We also do short courses. Some of them are accredited short courses, such as the VicRoads license testing. So a vehicle here, to be registered, has to have a roadworthy, so it has to be safe. So a mechanic will check it. But not every mechanic is just check it. They have to be certified by VicRoads, which is the Victorian, what do I describe them? They're the authority around registration and anything that runs on the road. They've got to have a look at it. So they will authorise a repairer to be able to do these tests. Well, all these repairers come here and do the training here to be certified. So that's the one case. And remember the question about being certified?
Yeah.
That's one of the qualifications that we do. That's certified. We also do auto parts as an apprenticeship.
Oh,
Spare parts.
nah, kita mengikuti.
Wow.
Coming, student. Yes.
Wow,
Coming.
like in Formula 2.
Keep going. Coming. Okay, so we also have a motorsport program, and we have affiliations with various motorsport teams, such as Nissan, Grove Racing, who's the mob outside? Who's that? Red Bull.
Red Bull. We've still got Grove.
Sorry?
We've still got Grove Racing.
They're in negotiations, as far as I know we do.
You get new muscle cars, have to negotiate
Yeah.
new muscle cars.
Anyway, so they do motorsport. There's a Certificate 2, which is a pathway program, plus a Certificate 3. This qualification is not an apprenticeship, but it is a Certificate 3. And as you could imagine, there are limited race teams that we have. There's only so many teams that you could place people with. But we do end up placing them there in the Cert 3. One of the programs that we did was what's known as the Red Bull Billy Cart race that was run only a week ago or so, whatever it was. The students made this. The students made this with interaction obviously with the teachers, and the students drove it because it's got a buckled wheel. So, but it did actually make it down the track, which is good. So that's some of the projects, because a lot of people don't understand within motorsport there's a lot of fabrication that goes with it as well. And if you tie in what we mentioned upstairs, where skilled experts are doing the various training, I have a body maker that actually delivers to the motorsport students, I think once a week. I think it's for a period of 3 or 4 hours a week, that they do their fabrication during that period as well. So again, you're tying in the expertise that we have around the campus to deliver the specified training. But this is one of the, I think you can see a picture just over there, framed, where Kangan has got a logo. That we had a parent of the team, I just cannot remember, but that's all right. They ran around in one of the supercar races, and for the weekend we were Kangan, they were Kangan, which is great. So we got a lot of kudos out of that. All right, time for the surprise.
What it is?
You don't even know the
No, just see that. I don't know the surprise either. Very exciting.
Thank you. Masih kuat kan? Enggak lapar.
Baik, nanti makan. Wow, port.
Sorry? There you
That's,
go.
that's Fort Zone.
Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Keep coming.
Macam-macam.
Okay, in this area we hold many of our pit point programs. Someone mentioned Mercedes. We do training for Mercedes, Porsche, Toyota, Nissan, who else
Suzuki.
we got down here?
Suzuki.
Hyundai. I don't know about Suzuki, to be honest. But we have customised training. It's a Suzuki, but I don't know whether we actually do training for them. I don't know. To be honest, that one I don't know. What else do we do down here? Steve, can you enlighten me? How many key points we got down here? My car is a dealership, and this is why this program is very good, because it basically deals with large dealerships. My car's a large dealership. It might have 60 shops across Melbourne, as an example. What happens is they can make a class of 10, so 10 dealerships lose one person. And then another 10 dealerships lose another person for another class, and so on and so on. So that's why it works really well. But again, it's customised training to the program that they want done. All right, so the key takeouts is, yes, we do specified training, specific training, but we also do, which is lockstep, we also do self-paced, which doesn't inhibit a student from progressing quickly. Theoretically, a student can finish their apprenticeship in less time than 4 years, if they are competent. That's the word we need to use, competence.
Mengikuti terus, luar biasa ini direkturnya. Wow. Bengkelnya sangat mewah.
As I mentioned, all the equipment you saw upstairs in the paint shop has come out of here. Yeah, because what they're going to do is going to paint the floor. Now, in this area, we would deliver, and I know it's very empty in there, but we would deliver our body makers. Our body makers, they make the truck chassis you saw over there, the trailers. They make caravans. We have people working who make trains. We have people working who make trams, buses. The qualification is actually called bus, truck and trailer. So we deliver that particular qualification here. So it's very much fabrication. It's very much, if you think of a boiler maker who works with steel and fabricates, that's what their job is. But it's automotive. In this area here we have manifolders. Come on, Paul. It looks as though they're changing all my lights as well, which is good. We have, you would have seen upstairs a preparation area, upstairs in the paint shop, a preparation area. This zone here is specified for just filler work. Here we have what's known as a measuring bench. Measuring bench, vehicles have very little tolerance in error. So the only way you can get a modern vehicle to be repaired properly is if you measure it properly to make sure it's all lines up properly, yeah? The other thing that most people don't understand is the technology that goes in the steel today of the vehicles. You cannot treat the vehicle the way we always did once upon a time. We must follow an OEM or a recommended repair procedure. Not only follow it, write a plan, document the evidence of what we've actually done to the vehicle and store it. If the vehicle goes back on the road, has another accident and does not perform correctly, safety, and someone is hurt, there is an inquisition. Then the repairer is at fault if the vehicle has not performed properly. Show me the evidence. So, once upon a time, we fixed things and we just did them one way. Now, you have to follow a procedure. So the education out to the student is, don't think you know everything. Find the relevant and current information to be able to do the repair. So it's interesting how the thought process, I think I know everything, and the older I get, I find out I know less. And that's life.
Question.
Yes?
What is the ratio between the theory and laboratory work when you are teaching,
Yes.
prepare the...
Okay, theory is twofold. Theory is not just in the classroom. For me, theory is in the workshop as well.
Okay.
Where a teacher will demonstrate this does this and that does that. That in Cumberson is probably 68% of, roughly 68% of the whole tuition. 1/3 is placed for pure assessment. So I'll have a teacher, he'll say 1 and 1 is 2, and then they're going to get 2 things to put them together and show them that it ends up being 2. Yes, fair, I understand now. Then the student goes away, does some prac, and that's the assessment. So realistically, it's I see it as being inside a classroom and in the workshop for theory together sometimes, and then that's roughly 2/3, and 1/3 is roughly assessment.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly.
Good.
Not everything works out the same way. Some students take more time, and we have a saying here that you are not yet competent. So in other words, you need to show more evidence that you are competent. No one fails. You need to explain to the student where they're short. Now, the surprise. A surprise.
Okay.
I'll give you a surprise. I know there's not much to look at here because it's empty, but the question is, how do I get the vehicles to level 2 in my workshops?
Oh, yeah.
Alright, there's your surprise.
Whoa. That's big. That's big one.
Yeah, very big.
So in order to get our vehicles up to level 2, which is where our rest of the workshops are.
It's for the car.
Yeah, yes.
It's for the car
This is
too.
a car lift.
Okay, car lift.
Once I had a teacher get stuck in here with 17 students for an hour and a half. It was very smelly after that.
Teenage boys.
Yes.
That poor teacher. She smelled of links. The teacher, they smelled of links when they got out.
Links, Africa. Yeah.
Teenage boys always use this deodorant spray, links.
Yeah, links.
Cari lift untuk mobil, kita keluar.
So as you can see, our paint shop is behind us again. We have a wonderful view.
Wah, hybrid. Wah, ini lebih canggih daripada yang University of Auckland kemarin. Lebih canggih ini daripada yang University of Auckland.
Jalan kakinya. Iya. Terkerosoi.
Just go straight through, please. Okay. So if you want to come back this way.
Mahasiswanya sedikit, peralatannya banyak, fasilitasnya luar biasa. Oke, sampailah pada lunch.
Just in time for lunch.
Thank you. Disediakan lunch. Luar biasa. Gitu ya, saudara. Ini tour kampus yang cukup lelah tapi sangat-sangat informatif.
Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it as you are. I hope you enjoyed it.